Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme, where I'm proving that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's actual mother. So, Matt had made this rebuttal video against a video I made, but one thing he always does is he always excludes where I insert, like, the evidence. And it's like, when I ever talk about my actual Michael Jackson story, and I put the evidence, and it's like, okay, because what I do is I mix in a little bit of yelling at him and insulting at him, and then I try and slide in my evidence. And it's like, okay, because what I'm trying to do is get his opinion about my Michael Jackson story and the evidence, and he doesn't never do that. He skips right over all of that stuff, and he just laughs and tries to put me down. It's like, he's just a horrible person and shit, right? So here, let me just play this little piece real quick to you here.
I don't even think 100% is enough for you. I think they have to agree with you 1,000% for you to even have the smallest bit of respect for another human being. It's like, look at it.
Okay, so he's talking about that I don't respect anybody unless they totally believe my story. Not even 100%. They have to believe it 1,000%. So it's like I try and make this clear, is that you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice to not believe my story, because it's true, and I show you facts. So when I show you facts, you don't have a choice. And so it's not, you don't have a choice. It's not 100%. You got to believe it 100%. You got to believe it 1,000%. I'm trying to make it clear to you, you do not have a choice. So when you make the choice to turn away from my story, you haven't even made a choice. What you've just done is just prove that you're a slave, that your mind does not work, that you're not capable of understanding things that are really going on in the world, because your choice is to curl up in a little ball like a baby and cry and whine and bitch and moan. That's your choice. And it's like, I don't accept that as a choice. That's just you being a slave. And so, if you want to be a slave, you go ahead and be a slave. Be the fucking loser piece of shit you are, because that's all you are. So now, let me show you the things that I say you do not have a choice. You don't have a choice in this matter. This is not something you have a choice. So, Matt was saying later in the video, he was saying, oh, well, you could find it. If you're looking for it, you'll find anything you want. And he's like, look at this cup. If I want to find Illuminati symbols in this cup, I'll find Illuminati symbols in this cup. And it's like, yeah, okay, I understand there's things like that are true and stuff. That's why I don't put all my work into the videos and interpretations and stuff, right? I rely primarily on facts and evidence. That's what my stuff is. But he can't understand, he won't deal with my facts and evidence, because once it does, it starts to hurt his brain, because Mattsftr's brain does not work. And what happens with these people whose brains don't work is when they see facts and evidence, and then their brain starts to be like trying to fight, being like, okay, I'm supposed to be working here, I'm supposed to be thinking. And then Matt, he can feel his brain starting to like crack open, like, you know, it's like that. And then he's like, no, that hurts. It hurts my brain. I'm going to curl up in a little ball and cry like a baby. No, I don't want to use my brain and shit, right? Okay, so now, so he says that if you're looking for it, you'll find it. Okay, so when I had the first assumption that Michael Jackson's real mother was Diana Ross, I went and checked her birthday, and I found out that at the time Michael Jackson's conceived, Diana Ross is like 13 years and 8 or 9 months old. Okay, she's not 14. She's not even 14. So, this is what I'm saying. He said, if you're going to go looking for it, you'll find it. So, when I found out that Diana Ross is not even 14 years old at the time that Michael Jackson's conceived, what was the chance I was going to go find evidence proving that she's in love with some man, that she's sleeping in his house, and that there's a motive for her at that time? You can see why she gets pregnant, and you can see why she abandons the baby. What would be the chance I would find that evidence when she's not even 14 years old? Like, really, how was I going to find evidence of Diana Ross sleeping in some dude's house and saying she's in love with him, and then actually giving the motive for why she abandons her baby? How would I find that evidence? That's not something that you just go looking for and you're just going to find it. The only reason that I could find this is that it's true. And the reason that Diana Ross is expressing that moment in time is because the kid of what she abandoned, of her and Smokey Robinson, turned into Michael Jackson. If Michael Jackson never became Michael Jackson, Diana Ross never would have been, like, if she would have abandoned her baby and Michael Jackson would have died in a car crash with the Jacksons. Okay, let's say the Jacksons started going on tour, right? Boom, they get in a car crash and they die. okay, then Diana Ross is not here telling you about, oh, when I was young, I was sleeping in Smokey Robinson's house and I was in love with him, because she would have known that at that time that she had a baby with him, she abandoned him, and the kid died in a crash. Okay, he never turned into Michael Jackson. So then that's why you would never, ever hear this story. You would never know anything about the story. Diana would never be talking about it. But since Michael turns into Michael Jackson, Diana Ross is super proud of him, and she's wanting to do something to claim her child. That's why she tells this story. This story should not exist. First of all, it should never exist, and then Diana should never even be talking about it. The only reason it exists because my story's true. The only reason she's talking about it is because Michael Jackson turned into Michael Jackson. So here, let's listen to what she says here.
But who was your first love, though? Yeah, who was that?
You mean,
that
are you
first guy
talking
you
about
kissed
man?
behind?
Are you talking about man love?
Oh, yeah, I should have specified that. I'm sorry.
Okay, so first of all, right there, she specifies man love. Oh, wait, you mean man love? Like, we're talking about real, oh yeah, he says, oh yeah, I should have specified that. So you can tell the essence of the conversation they're about to have here is like, who's the first dude that you, like, really loved? Like, not like some just little kitty crush thing, you know, that you're saying, oh, I loved him and shit, right? And like little girls who say, I love Michael Jackson, and their first love would be like Michael Jackson. No, that's not your first love. First love is some dude that you were fucking messing around with. You were messing around with him. You were in love with him. You thought you were going to marry him. Thought you were going to have his kids and shit. Like, and you were fucking doing shit with them. Okay, so...
Smokey Robinson was my first love. I really loved him.
Okay, now Smokey Robinson's her first love. She really loved him. Now, and then she's going to specify the dates. Now, the other thing that's going on here is that Smokey Robinson's got a girlfriend. Claudette is not only is she Smokey Robinson's girlfriend, Claudette is in the band. At the time that the Miracles go and meet Berry Gordy in August of 57. So at that time, Diana Ross is not even 14 years old at that time. She's like 13 and a half at that actual time and shit, right? Because that's still a few months before Michael's conceived. So she's only like 13 and a half years old. Okay, so Claudette is in the band, okay? And then about a year and a half after that, Claudette marries Smokey Robinson, and they're married for like 24 years, and they've got 2 kids. But there is a story about Claudette having like 8 miscarriages during the 60s. She had like 8 miscarriages and shit, right? And she's the first woman signed to Motown Records. So talk about the disrespect for Diana Ross, and it's completely inappropriate because she's talking about a love of what she had. That when did this occur? Because Smokey's hooked up with fucking Claudette. So whatever relationship she's talking about here with Smokey has to have taken place when she's like 13 years old. What's she talking about? Why would she ever bring this up, talking about a relationship? And then you got to understand, she's talking about Smokey, who's married to like Claudette, who was the first woman signed to Motown. Diana Ross would have seen the struggles of what Claudette had having her children, because Diana Ross now is, and this is in 1991, she's got all of her kids at this time. She's a mother. She understands the importance of being a mother and stuff. But no, this thing that she is talking about with her and Smokey is so much more important that she doesn't care about Smokey and Claudette's relationship, doesn't care about any of the struggles of what Claudette had to go through, doesn't care about any of the connections for them to Motown. She's telling something here. So the only reason why she's telling this, like I said, because Michael's the king of pop. She wants to document that Michael was her and Smokey's child, because there's no reason for this to exist. There's no reason for her to ever be talking about this conversation.
I have stories. People think my life or my career started with Motown, but really it started with Smokey. Smokey lived on Belmont. We lived on the same street. Mm-hmm. I was very close with his cousin, Sharon Burston. Mm-hmm. And I used to sleep over. You know how kids have sleepovers at Sharon's house. And I used to listen to the Miracles sing in the basement. And that's
okay, so she lives on the same street as Smokey. It's Smokey's niece, actually, Sharon Burston, and she's really close friends with Smokey's niece, Sharon. And then she says I'd sleep over at Sharon's house and we'd listen to the Miracles play in the basement. So she doesn't 100% specify that's Smokey's house. Smokey Robinson's mother died when he was 10 years old. Smokey's oldest sister, who's 17 years older than Smokey. So she's got children that are around Smokey's age and shit, like around Diana's age. So, because she has like 6 kids or something like that. So Smokey's oldest sister moved into the house with her children and raised Smokey in the same house of which he was living with, into his mother's house and shit, right? So they're living in that house. So Smokey's being raised in a house without his mother. He's living with his oldest sister who's got all of these kids. Smokey's playing down in the basement with the band and shit, right? And Smokey's dating Claudette. But Diana can sleep over the night in that house because she's good friends with Smokey Robinson's niece Sharon. So Diana Ross is sleeping the night in Smokey Robinson's house at the exact time of which Michael Jackson is conceived. And not only is it the time, she tells you here that this is when she finds out that Smokey can actually make a record. And then that's where her career starts. This is what the whole thing about what it's about. This should never exist. This piece of information, but she's spilling the beans on all of it. Not only is she telling you how she got pregnant, she's specifying the dates, and then she's telling you what was occurring at that time and what led her to abandoning her child. It's because she finds out you can actually make records.
Before I came to Motown, that was before the Supremes, and to me, I loved him. Because there was a time where when I first heard his record on the radio and I realized that you might be able to sing and make a record.
Okay, so when she first hears this song on the radio and stuff, right? So now let me show you. So there's 2 pieces. So the evidence, just because it's like if you don't know, okay, so the Miracles in Motown, okay? See right there, it says, in August of 1957, Robinson and the Miracles met songwriter Berry Gordy after a failed audition for Brunswick Records, okay? August of 1957. So Diana Ross has put herself in the house with Smokey Robinson, and they're playing in the band, and then that's the time she specifies, because it's before the Miracle, it's before the Supremes, because she gets into the Primettes when she's 15 years old. Okay, so it's all before that. It's all before Motown. She specifies, and she says, I realized that that's the time when I realized that you could make a song. Okay, now, Smokey Robinson's first song is a song called Got a Job. Okay, so let's see if I can get this in there now. So here, I think that's enough. You can see it. Okay, so it says, Robinson's fateful meeting with Berry Gordy Jr. in 1957, that's when he met him, it's clearly documented, everybody knows when that happened, started a lifetime friendship and planted the seed of Motown legend. Then Berry set out helping Smokey and the group of young hopefuls that he fronted, newly renamed the Miracles, to their first record deal. It was with End Records. See, this is what I'm saying too, is that there was no Motown Records at this time. There's no Motown Records. Berry Gordy's trying to figure it out. This is like, he doesn't even have, with like Tamla's not officially established, and they don't have any like national distribution. They don't have like a record company. But Berry Gordy knows how to make a record. He knows how to do it. He's trying to build it. So this is the time of what I'm saying is that when Smokey gets Diana Ross pregnant, at this time, they still are trying to make it and stuff. But Berry Gordy now is committed to Smokey. He understands that this is the guy that he's in his head. He's got the visions. He's seeing it, right? So then right at that time, then Diana gets pregnant. And then so they got to figure out, like, what are we going to do? We can't have Smokey being the main artist that Berry Gordy's going to build Motown around, and then he's going to have a child from a 14-year-old girl in the neighborhood. That could ruin all of it. Their reputation. Berry Gordy doesn't understand like what's going to happen in the future. He doesn't know how to deal with it. But he knows that that kid's got to go. We can't have that kid around here. That's why he ends up, the kid is close. Gary, Indiana is only like 200 miles away from Detroit, but it's out of state. So they gave the kid away. You can see they moved him out of state, but still close enough where they had contacts there. That's why it's Joe, because he knew him, because they really weren't that far away. But it's out of state. It's out of state. It's over there. And then he's being raised as a Jackson, so they've got it covered up. So it says, with End Records, and on Smokey's 18th birthday in 1958, their their debut single was issued. Okay, so Smokey's birthday is in February 19th. Okay, so Smokey's birthday is February 19th. Here. Okay, so just so you see, on his 18th birthday, okay? So I'll go back here to show you, just so you know that his birthday... Okay, his birthday's on February 19th. Okay, so now, let's take it into the context of the story, what I'm saying. Okay, and listen to what Diana just said. And so this is what I'm saying, it's like, you don't have a choice to not believe this. This is not something you have a choice. So you have to say, look at Diana said she was in love with Smokey Robinson and she was sleeping the night in his house when she's not even 14 years old. And that's the time when she realized that you could actually make a record and it would be on the radio. Okay? So right there, that's right after Smokey meets Berry Gordy in August of 57. So we're 1 year away from Michael Jackson being born. We're just a few months from Michael Jackson being conceived. So at that exact time, look, and so this is what I'm saying. When I went to look for information on that, what was the chance I was going to find this? Okay, like, okay, you could have had like all of the development of Motown and stuff, but if Diana Ross is not saying that she's sleeping in Smokey Robinson's house and she's in love with him, then... well, what do I really have? But I do have that evidence. I've got that evidence. She's not only is she sleeping in his house, she's in love with him. She's really in love with him. He's the one who brought her to Motown. He did everything. Everything starts, and how does her, because what you find out is her career, how it develops. Diana Ross is known as Diana Ross the Boss. And why is she known as the Boss is because when she rolled into Motown, she had made a deal with Berry Gordy and Smokey Robinson to abandon her child, which would allow them to develop their record company. And she went in there bossing them around. And you have to have leverage. She didn't go in there with a young girl just being like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be here. I'll do whatever you say. No, she went in there saying, this is what I want. This is what I want. How does she get the power to go in there? And then it was clearly obvious that she was the boss because they labeled her the boss. That's how it happens. It's not by mistake. She had power to do that. How does she get that power to do that? Oh, well, when she abandons her child. Yeah, that gave her power. And then when she goes in, the song that she does her audition with, when she does her first singing audition at Motown, the song that she's singing is a song, there goes my baby, I want my baby, I need my baby. That's the song that she was singing. Berry Gordy says the first time he heard her singing, that was the song he heard her singing when she was doing her Motown audition. She's singing, there goes my baby, I want my baby. Like, that's just, it's like, come on. That's what I'm saying. You don't have a choice to not believe that. You have no choice. That's what happened. It's documented. Very much well documented. So, Diana Ross sees Smokey Robinson hook up with Berry Gordy, and he sees that Smokey Robinson's starting to record a record. That's when Diana Ross gets pregnant. That's what the actual time in the life of where Michael Jackson's actually conceived, when Michael Jackson's actually conceived, is exactly at the time after Smokey Robinson meets Berry Gordy and he starts to record a record. And at that exact time, like of what Diana Ross just told you, she's literally sleeping in Smokey Robinson's house and she's in love with him. This isn't like, this is not something that I just went and looked for and made it up. This should not even be there. That piece of evidence of Diana Ross sleeping in Smokey's house, even if it was true, nobody should have ever known about that because Smokey's hooked up with Claudette. But Claudette, you gotta think about it. Claudette, she's like 15 years old at that time. Okay, you got to figure she's not sleeping the night in Smokey Robinson's house. She's in the band, so she can tell her mom, and maybe they know that they're boyfriend, girlfriend and stuff, which would make it even more where the mom saying, you're not staying the night in the house. You can go over there and do audition, band practice stuff, but you got to be home by like 10 o'clock. It'd be like at the latest and shit, right? Probably earlier than that. But by 10 o'clock, she got to be home and shit, right? So when Claudette went home, after Smokey's jamming with the band, everybody's like that, right? And so, but then it's late at night, you got to figure that the girl would just go to sleep. She's not like super excited about being around Smokey and the band. She's tired. The friend, Sharon Burston, she just goes to bed. But Diana could stay up chatting it up with Smokey because they are friends too. And then Diana also is wanting to talk about music, so they could stay up just chatting it up. That's exactly the environment of what happens. Everybody goes to sleep. There's Diana and Smokey alone down in the basement, and she lets Smokey have sex with her because that's what she has to offer him. Remember, she said she's in love with him. She's really in love with him. So she has sex with him, and she gets pregnant. Right after she gets pregnant, Smokey's record comes on the radio. And so now Diana is thinking, in her head, she's thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm pregnant by Smokey. That means he's going to have to marry me, which that's what the song Shop Around. It's like he's trying to figure out, should I marry this girl? Do I have to marry her because I got her pregnant? That's when he writes the song Shop Around and stuff. That's what develops and stuff. But so they're trying to figure out what's going on, but within the process of him trying to figure out, am I going to marry this girl? What am I going to do? How am I going to figure this out? How am I going to tell Claudette, I just got Diana pregnant? They got to figure out, they're trying to figure out what's going on. And at some point there, Smokey would have had to tell Barry, hey, Barry, I got this girl, Diana, pregnant. She's only 14. I think I'm going to marry her, right? Barry would instantly be like, no, you can't marry a 14-year-old girl. Yeah, that's going to ruin your reputation. So they're trying to figure out what to do. It's not like they instantly say, it's not like Berry Gordy's like Smokey tells Barry, hey, Barry, I got this girl pregnant. It's not like Berry Gordy says, oh, well, I know, we're going to send the kid to the Jacksons. You got to get, it's not like it instantly happens. They got to figure it out and work it out. But in that process, they figured it out. And then Berry Gordy tells Smokey, look this is the plan. We're gonna let Diana have the kid. You're not going to marry her, and we're going to give the kid to the Jacksons. And then that's how Diana gets that. And so Diana now, she's like, okay, well, if I abandon my kid, that means I've done something for, not just for Smokey. It's not just Smokey I've done something for. I've done something now for Berry Gordy. And that's how Diana rolls into Motown, becomes the boss, becomes the head of the Supremes, and then right after that, Diana starts dating Berry Gordy, because now her eyes, she's got her vision set on the big prize. She wants the owner of the record company. And so she starts dating Berry Gordy, and they have a long relationship, which ends up resulting in Diana's first known child is Rhonda Ross Gordy. And what do they do with Rhonda Ross Gordy? They don't tell her that her real father's not the Robert Ellis Silverstein guy. They don't tell Rhonda until she's like 12, 13 years old, and Rhonda's like, damn, how come I'm so dark? My sisters they're like lighter because their father's white. Silverstein's a white guy. So, like Tracy Ellis Ross, she's lighter skinned and shit. She's not like dark like Rhonda. Rhonda's got two black parents and shit. So she's a little darker and shit, right? So they started noticing it, and then Diana finally tells her the truth that her real father's Berry Gordy. But that wasn't even until she's like 12, 13 years old. So Diana has no problem with like lying to the kids and making up these big stories and saying that, your father's this person, not this person. She has no problem doing that stuff. She clearly has shown that that's the patterns of behavior of what she knows. So this is what I like to say to Matt's FTR. You don't have a choice. When you're saying, you're saying that I get mad if people don't believe my story 100% and 1,000%. It's like, dude, you do not have a choice. You don't have a choice to not believe this. This is what happened. And why does this exist? And you're going to tell me that I found this story, this information, and this documentation, I found this just because I was looking for it? And it's like, of course, if you went looking for it, of course you were going to find that Diana Ross is sleeping in Smokey Robinson's house. Of course. She's a little 14-year-old slut in the ghetto. Of course. She's sleeping with everybody. She probably had 10 boyfriends. That's what Matt's saying. That's the world of what Matt thinks we live in. That of course, she's just a little ghetto hooker. Of course, she's sleeping with everybody. How hard was it going to be for you to find that evidence? It's like, are you fucking kidding me? It's ridiculous. There's no reason I should have found this evidence. There's no reason it should exist. And even if it did exist, there was no reason for Diana to ever talk about it, because she's totally disrespecting Claudette, Smokey's real wife, whose first woman signed to Motown. But Diana Ross doesn't mind disrespecting her because Diana Ross is the boss. She's got this inside deal with Smokey and Berry Gordy, and nobody's going to tell her what to do.